I wonder what you think, what you can tell the audience about what this changes a little bit as far as our relationship with technology. More specifically, it sounds like agents change the role of software, which we've considered this a tool. I'm still just working in tools, working in software.
Right.
Increasingly, my friend ChatGPT is a partner. Increasingly,
Yeah, yeah,
it is a
yeah.
thought partner. I'm running ideas. I'm saying, oh, this way, and it's fabulous. Um, but how do agents specifically change the role of software from, and my suspicion is from tool to partner?
I think that it changes the software from tool to partner when it anticipates your need.
Mm, hmm.
And don't we all live for that? For the pleasant surprise of something done that you're thinking about doing, and now it's just done at the quality that you need. So imagine if that, campaign is just orchestrated and ready to go for users to approve when you wake up and it's just there.
Right.
Funnily enough, and I would love your take on this. I haven't seen as much disruption in marketing, agentic
Mhm.
world, that as I've seen everywhere else, including sales. Marketing, for some reason, is just not, coming through in the way that is. Like I see it in HR, I see it in
Yeah.
supply chain, I see it in sales, I see it in everywhere except for marketing. I'm trying to figure out why that is. And then any thoughts on that?
I think there is a level of conservative in
Oh,
marketing.
interesting.
And it's a level of going to say conservative and just being more careful maybe sometimes than we need. So even when you were talking about promises, I know that as a marketer and so many marketers I've worked with, you really have to make decisions all the time about the promises that you make, right? Um, I confess, I've said words like, this isn't a legal document. It's a website. Now, I just said that on a recording, Manny. There it is for the world to consume. I said it 10 years ago. But we do have to make those decisions every day, right? In terms of messaging, in terms of what we shout from the rooftops, and all of those things. And I think because we care about those renewals, because we care about the integrity of the organization, we have adopted some conservatism. Now, this isn't true for every company, of course. We've got folks out there making claims that are dubious, of course. But I think that when we're thinking about tools, my colleagues in marketing, not at my firm, we're moving pretty slowly and we're exploring what does this look like for content. And even with some, for content as the baseline of this works pretty well. I'm
Right.
still, by the way, owning it. So you just described what if a campaign was built and functional? And I love that because I'm pressing a lot of buttons.
Right.
And I don't want to press buttons. I want to have a point of view on audience and messaging and asset and CTA. And then
Right.
I want it to self-assemble. And that's
Right.
possible. But my marketing brain is still going to, until a few years when I see it and I think, okay, this is good. It knows me, all of these things. It knows the preferences. It knows the audience. I'm still going through a lot of those things with a fine tooth comb and thinking,
Interesting.
I know this puts me kind of behind, in terms of people who are aggressively pursuing these things. But I've just adopted that kind of conservative point of view. And I think for reasons that have to do with messaging. I hope that's helpful.
Interesting. Interesting. Do you think it's because you're being exposed and bombarded with so many solutions for, there's 20 solutions for five problems in marketing, and now you're sort of like your level of your barrier for bullshit is significantly higher. So when somebody tells you your dream have come true, you immediately like, no,
Of
somebody told me
course,
that
right?
yesterday and it didn't come true, so I'm not believing you anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm in an industry, events. Folks who buy event software have been lied to for decades, I think. So I have to be aware. I parentheses, I think I have to really be aware if the promises that we're making sound really lofty.
Yeah.
And just sort of consider that in terms of what the audience has been through, what they say about all of my competitors on G2 and Trust Radius and LinkedIn and the Slacks for CMOs that I'm on, that this is not an audience that's ready to believe. They are
Mm,
an audience that has experienced frustration at, and when we talk about events, particularly on-site events, not that virtual isn't, full of risk as well, but you've got that one chance, right? You're an event marketer, you're an event professional. one thing goes wrong that day, and it does ruin 6 to 8 months of your good work.
Oh wow.
So those grudges, right, they
Oh,
last.
for a long time.
They last. So you just have to kind of consider the audience. But yeah, just I think everyone's walking around
Yeah,
with a I've been hurt before.
right.
I smell the BS when it's coming.
Interesting. Because what interesting enough, in digital marketing, I'm not seeing a lot, which is very surprising that I'm not seeing a lot of agentic work. I'm seeing a
Yeah.
lot in brand marketing. So for instance, this was this fascinating agentic company that sort of like it used AI agents to ensure that the messaging and the campaigns and the brand was well represented for the geography in which they were running. Um, because some global brands just don't have the human power
Love
to
that.
be hyper tailored to like every micro region in which they're selling, and some of them made the advertising made land wrong. So, for instance, they were helping Jack Daniels with a
Yep.
particular campaign, and when he ran here in the UK, it turns out that the actors in the campaign look underage, and they caught it
Oh,
before it actually went to market, before it went to media. Um, would it have been a disaster? Who knows? But it was
sure.
avoided, and it was tons of headaches.
Yeah.
That ruining all their reputation in 6 months of work. That's exactly
Yeah.
what they avoided. So
And I
it
think
feels like a
risk
better approach to
mitigation.
coming at it from the safety side. I mean, I'm gonna keep you safe. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
no, appreciate that. And look, we are maybe it's because of that conservative mindset, but I'm pretty jazzed about the idea of risk mitigation, call me boring. But that is jazzy for us, I think, as marketers. I hope folks agree. Um, it's funny that the example with Jack Daniels, the reason I like it so much, and I just want to call this out to the audience, it takes something that you still as a marketer, I think, want to own in the here and now, which is your identity, who you are, what you want to tell an audience, how you want to make them feel, all of these things that we obsess about. And it separates the stuff that you don't know, which is local preferences, right? Market preferences,
right.
to something acting independently, that you can trust for those things and that you're not afraid to trust for those things. We never really, unless you're a localization expert, which is a whole other story, you simply can't be an expert in all of those things. So it's no hit to what might be an ego. It's no hit to anything else. It's really just saying, I need to blend everything that I know and worked really hard on to assemble and package and become this entity that we are, and combine it with some other expertise that simply doesn't need to be human, and mitigate risk, and come out with a campaign that is compelling for the audience given
A hundred
their.
percent. But you just think about like, so the reason I found this fascinating is because it hits in so many levels. So first of all, risk when it comes to branding is a little bit in the eye of the beholder, right? So these people may have looked underage to the AI and to some people, but not to others.
Sure.
The
Super
people who put
subjective.
together a campaign, they were just looking for young, happening people that just, once it was printed and shot and whatever, it came out the wrong way, right? Maybe the clothes made it look that way, the makeup, who knows? It's still sort of like a probabilistic answer. So there's not definitive yes or no.
Yep.
Probabilistically, the agent told this consumer that there is a high chance that this will be flagged.
Yep. Yep.
But the problem
Yep.
is that that high chance has a massive, cost if it happens. You see what I mean? Because now you have to pull the
100%. No,
entire
that
entire ad.
it's not worth the risk. And there's, again, I mentioned people holding grudges before. I said it as a joke and I meant it as a joke, but memory is long, right?
A
Memory is
hundred
long. You
percent.
don't just mess up and erase it. You
A
mess
hundred
up
percent.
and you've made an impression that's not so positive. So, I will tell you, we run around this virtual office. I'm in Boston, and the company's in Canada, and we chat through. Look, if there's anything wrong here, we the most important thing is we catch it as we look at each other. I'm not worried if I've made a mistake in a campaign. I'm worried if it hit the market and it went public. But you throw your tomatoes while we're here,
Right, right, right.
and that's what it sounds like that agent did. So very cool.